Today, I'm going to show you how robots have already taken over our lives. I'm a motion graphics designer, and ever since Midjourney became available last year, I've heard all the theories about how it's going to impact us as artists. Will we become obsolete, lose our jobs? While I get the hype, if you think about it, we've already been relying on AI to help us make art better and faster, even in ways you might not realize. Think content-aware fill in Photoshop. Just like your old embarrassing social media posts, AI isn't going anywhere.
No! God, please, no! No!
So stick around because I'm going to teach you 3 ways that you can start using Midjourney right now to improve your artistic process. Before we jump in, I'm going to quickly walk you through the basics of Midjourney. Later and throughout the video, we'll look at the sci-fi inspired energy core project I've been working on to give you a visual of the benefits of Midjourney that I'm describing. Midjourney uses machine learning to take text prompts and create original images. It runs on a Discord server and there are different subscription plans to choose from. I use the premium subscription because it allows me to experiment as much as I want with prompts in my own Discord channel instead of the main one. For those of you that don't know, Discord is an app that gives people and communities the chance to communicate via voice, video, and text. Okay, so now that we've got our bases covered, let's get started with reason number 1. Reason number 1 to use Midjourney is because it'll help you hone your vision and land on a concept. Projects usually start with a bunch of random thoughts, which is where software like Midjourney can help you. Since Midjourney relies on prompts to create images, using it will challenge you to get clear on things like the tone of your project and the color palette you want to use. It'll take some trial and error to get to something that you're happy with, but that's why we do this as artists. Being able to think critically about what we like and dislike is what sets us apart from the robots. Speaking of robots, for this project, I started with the prompt hard surface mech from the future, which gave me some pretty anamorphic results that didn't really fit what I wanted. So I removed the words robot and mech and ran the same prompt 12 times to give me 46 different iterations to choose from. It wasn't until number 45 and number 46 that I liked enough of the details to riff on them using the free 3D software Blender. Without Midjourney, there's no way that I would have had the time to make 46 distinct thumbnails. Instead, I would have been limited to messing around for a couple of hours and calling it a day. TLDR, Midjourney helps you skip through the awkward first drafts to get a good idea fast. And if you get stuck, you can always go back to it again for more inspiration. Reason number 2 to use Midjourney is because it'll save you time and money. Have you ever just started in the middle of a project without really knowing where it was going? How much time did you waste having to rework things? By having a solid pre-production process with Midjourney, you can waste less time figuring out what you want and avoid experiencing blank page syndrome, which can delay your productivity by days at a time. Midjourney isn't bogged down by self-doubt. Nothing prevents Midjourney from starting and iterating. There aren't any self-imposed limitations. Jumping back into my sci-fi energy core project, when I got into Blender, it took me very little time to build the core, which was like 70% of the project. That meant I could spend more time focused on the small details that would make it interesting. For example, I didn't want to use the color scheme that Midjourney provided, so I switched it up and my human input shaped the final result. Time is money. If you're freelancing, Midjourney can cut out a few hours of your work and make your hourly rate effectively higher. You may even be able to take on more projects than you normally could because your overall process is more efficient and cost effective. You also ensure that your client gets a totally unique product. More on that in a second. For our third reason, we're going to talk about how to use Midjourney to generate assets for your project. There's a lot that goes into making a 3D scene, and conveniently, most of the assets I need can be created in Midjourney. For example, after I made my sci-fi energy core, I wanted a background to be the environment. So to make one, I went into Midjourney and experimented with some prompts, and the end result was pretty cool. With the subject and background complete, I rendered out a frame from Blender and brought it into Photoshop so that I could use Select Subject to remove the energy core from the background and color them both separately. Select Subject is one of Photoshop's AI tools and is another example of how you've probably already been using AI a lot without even realizing it. Side note, Midjourney didn't do too well with snow overlays, so in this case, I grabbed one off of Envato, did some color grading, and boom, done. Stock libraries like Envato Elements are awesome resources for all kinds of artists. Keep in mind, even those libraries have limits to the number of assets they have available, while Midjourney doesn't. You don't have to worry about subscribing to multiple stock libraries to give yourself more options, because what Midjourney can produce is only limited by your imagination and creativity. Also, it's worth noting that anybody can use the elements offered by Envato, so there's always a chance that your final project could have something in common with other creators, whereas anything you make in Midjourney is random and can't be recreated by anyone else, so you can rest easy knowing that your art will always be uniquely yours. AI is a new thing, and new things can sometimes feel uncomfortable. Remember though, art is a vehicle for growth and it's meant to disrupt the status quo. It's important to consider that at one point, the Adobe Creative Suite was totally new, and the way we interact with things like it has continued to change just like the software has itself. Originally, if you wanted something to show up in your photo, you had to literally shoot it in camera. Along came Photoshop, which allowed for anything to be digitally added and edited in post. Same with Premiere. There was a time where people had to cut up pieces of film and glue them back together in order. Now, no one thinks twice about using a non-linear editor to do the same thing. At the end of the day, AI is coding, a bunch of ones and zeros. It'll always lack the soul that only humans can bring. We can depend on AI to enhance our final result, but not to replace our role as the driver and generator of content. Everything that I just did in Midjourney and Photoshop needed my input to get to the outputs. So there you have it. Today, we covered 3 reasons why Midjourney is a tool that can transform your artistic process. I hope you give it a try soon, and if you do, let me know how it goes in the comments. We only brushed the surface of my Midjourney to Blender Photoshop workflow. If you'd like to see a step-by-step tutorial, let me know. If you haven't already, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos like this one.